Why, hello. Midway Piper here. A long time no speak. First of all, it's a beautiful day here. The Japanese maples are in full bloom, so that's really nice. Been gone for the last couple of days. Flew out to St. Louis on Monday. So I just got back a little while ago. It was a work trip, so it's just me. And got a quick story to share. So the night before I left, I started reading through a new book. Success, Their Positive Mental Attitude. And I'm not very far in it at all, because I ended up reading another book that I brought instead. But luckily I read just enough of that book before I left. And in the book he sort of makes this, not quite an analogy, sort of a thought experiment, I guess, of in every situation, imagine that you have a coin. And on one side of the coin, it says PMA, positive mental attitude. And on the other side is NMA, negative mental attitude. And he essentially says that we determine which side we present of that coin. And a positive mental attitude attracts goodness to us. And a negative mental attitude brings the bad stuff. Makes every situation worse. So I kind of like the thought of that. I need to strive to have the PMA side up a lot more often, which is not hard to do with this beautiful view behind me. Which leads me into the story. But before I get into the story, it's my gray woody poker. And in it I have some lane limited HGL. Which is a Latakia whatever mix. I don't think there's any Orientals in this, but it's probably, I don't know, I haven't looked it up, but it's probably a Latakia and Virginia mix. Maybe a little Cavendish in there too. Anyways, on to the story. So the closest airport to me is a tiny little airport. There are a grand total of 5 gates at this airport. Not terminals, gates. 5 gates. You can either leave through gate 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. It is a heck of a lot more convenient to get to than going into the city to either LaGuardia or JFK. Much easier to get a ride there. So my flight was supposed to leave at 10:30 on Monday morning. I wanted to get there around 8:15 or so, just to make sure, with security lines and all that, which was never a problem out of that airport, but with the government shut down and people not showing up to work, better safe than sorry. So I get through security, everything's good. Get to the gate, everything's good. Plane loads up on time. And after everyone's on the plane for about 5 minutes, they had already closed the door, cabin door. Pilot comes on with an announcement. Says, one of the ground crew noticed one of the tires looks a little bit low, so we're going to have to deboard the plane. So everyone gets off the plane again. Well, then they come to the conclusion that one of the tires is flat. How did they not notice this earlier? I don't know. So we will not be leaving on time. Which means I'm going to miss my connecting flight. Very nice lady. Very nice lady. She got everyone rebooked on new connecting flights. We'll come to find out that they don't have a spare tire for the plane at the airport or a mechanic at the airport. One of them, I don't remember which, the tire or the mechanic, one of them was at LaGuardia Airport and the other was at JFK Airport. Well, it's it's about an hour drive from where I was to either of those airports. And one of them, wherever the mechanic was, had to go to the other one to get the tire and then get over to our airport. We were supposed to leave at 10:30. We did not leave until 3:30. By this point, I had moved my connecting flight several times. There was a 5 o'clock flight, which I was not going to make, leaving at 3:30. And up until that point, there had been a flight from Atlanta to St. Louis every 2 hours. But after the 5 o'clock flight, the next flight didn't leave until 9 o'clock at night. So I arrived in Atlanta around 6 o'clock. And that was the last flight. At 9 o'clock out of St. Louis, that was it. Or out of Atlanta. So after sitting around in the tiny, tiny airport here for 5.5 hours, get to Atlanta, 3 overlay over there, got to St. Louis on the last flight in, arrived at 11 o'clock. Got my bag, which luckily made it somehow after all the transfers. Go outside to the shuttles to the car rental area. And I rented from Hertz. Go outside, and there's a sign for every agency except Hertz. Just go and see somebody that works at the airport, ask them, they're like, I have no idea. Turned out we had to go across the street to the parking garage and upstairs, where there was no label for Hertz. But a shuttle finally came. The rental agencies are all off site from the airport. Shuttle gets us over there. At this point, again, it's 11 o'clock at night. Started the day at whatever. I got to the airport at 8 in the morning. Now it's 11 o'clock at night. Going to Hertz. Second person in line, it's taking forever in there. The lady goes, all right, go out to the car, go out to lot whatever, where the size car I rented is. Pick one, bring the key back into me, and get the mileage on the car. Really? Really? So I do that, bring it back into her, finishes filling out all the paperwork, get in the car to leave, go get in the exit line. And there's a line. And we're sitting there for 40 minutes before I got to the booth. 40 minutes in the exit line. If you've never rented from Hertz, they have a gold membership or business membership. And supposedly you can just, they'll have your name on a board, it tells you the car, and you go get it. It's supposed to cut the time so you don't have to stand at the counter and wait. Well, that's great, except they still have to fill out all the same paperwork. So instead of doing it inside, they're doing it at the exit booth. And it's taking like 10 minutes a car. And the rest of us are just sitting there. We get up to the booth. The guy sees that I have the paper already from inside, and he goes, all right, you can go. And then it was a half-hour drive from the hotel, or from the rental to the hotel. And then started, it was a work trip, so I had to meet at 5 o'clock the next morning. So I got to bed around 12:30 and up for the day at 4:30. It was a long day. My head was killing me. Yep. That was quite the experience. Today, getting back, the flight was perfect. The flights were fine. Everything boarded on time, left on time. No problems at all. I had a row to myself on the first flight. And the second flight, actually. So that was nice. But, and then of course, seeing on the news, my flight left St. Louis this morning at, plane boarded at 6 this morning. So I woke up and left the hotel around 3:30 because I didn't trust Hertz to have a shuttle and all that ready and get to St. Louis airport and go through security and all that stuff. So it's been a long couple of days. The hotel was nice. And I spent all my free time at the hotel reading. It was nice and quiet. I thought about going and exploring St. Louis some, but I was just so exhausted from the travels and all that, and knowing I had to get up so early again this morning. And stupid me, I said I would work tonight. So I have tomorrow off, so that'd be nice. But I'm exhausted. I am exhausted. But now that I'm back home, we'll continue with our regularly scheduled programs. Tomorrow will be a bit of a review of some things I've been reading lately. So for those of you that like the book content, be on the lookout for that tomorrow. I know not too many of you enjoy that stuff, but it's I'm going to cover a couple books by an author that I've been enjoying lately, so that'll be tomorrow. All right, that's about it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.